welcome to another episode of Strictly Healthy. Glad you could join us. This is a live session today, so we're pleased to be able to bring that to you. Many of you have watched some of the replays, and indeed many of you have also said that you're quite interested in what we are doing here, because of course this is the show that discusses all things to do with our health and wellness and what affects things. It could be stress right now is very much in the news in terms of financial situations, budgets, etc. Very much a problem for us. We're dealing with physical, emotional, mental, physical, sometimes stressful health, all those types of things, financial. That's what we talk about on this show. So I'm pleased you could join us today. And the topic today is about yo-yo dieting. And we have joining us is Catherine Hogton. I hope I said your name correctly.
Kathy is how most people know me.
Kathy.
If you say Catherine, I shall think I'm in trouble.
Okay. I'm sorry I said that because okay, never mind. We won't go in there. Kathy Hogton, lovely to have you on the show. She is with Blossom Health, and we're going to talk a little bit today about yo-yo dieting. So we're talking about what works, what doesn't work, you know, why do we do yo-yo dieting, and why we should stop, basically. So first of all, just tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, about Blossom Health, and how you got started, why you got started, etc. Just share a little bit of that with us, please.
Okay. So what I do is I'm an online coach. I coach women who are usually in the age group of about 40-ish to about 60-ish. So perhaps pre, peri, post menopausal, and beyond as well. And I coach women around the areas of food, eating, wellness, reducing our stress response, and basically getting really well nourished and taking care of ourselves. I'm also training to be a personal trainer at the moment because I want to incorporate movement into what I do too. And my passion really is to help women find peace around food and eating and find balance in their well-being. So that's what I do really. So I'm a health coach that's chosen to specialize in the area of disordered eating in particular. And again, for that age group, and I'm also a weight loss coach. And what I see a lot of is women who are starting to go through the menopause, or maybe have been in it for a while, and hormones are doing that crazy thing and their bodies don't feel like their own anymore, and they are quite likely to be putting on weight. Most women do put on weight during the menopause, and they don't feel in touch with their bodies anymore. They're quite distressed by what's going on, trying to lose weight, lots of dieting, probably not very successfully, and the amount of body distress goes up. And this can result in some really disordered eating patterns, which are really not good to be going through. And that's where I really like to help women.
Okay, so we're talking about yo-yo dieting in particular. What triggers yo-yo dieting? And well, I was going to say what are the dangers of yo-yo dieting? So let's deal with the first one. What triggers it?
Okay, so yo-yo dieting is really a situation that has evolved over a period of time. And I wonder how many of your listeners or people watching today can relate to this. That maybe a while ago, maybe decades ago, they go on a diet, they lose weight, but then at some point in the future, they put the weight back on again. They're not happy about that. It's quite likely they put more weight on. Over a 5-year period, 97% of diets fail. And of that 97%, 80% of those people put more weight on than they lost in the first place. Okay?
And fair, is it?
No, it's not fair. What we're saying is, if you want to have a pretty surefire way of putting on weight, go on a diet.
Oh,
It's extraordinary,
goodness.
isn't it? Anyway, so then what happens is a cycle of trying to lose weight, maybe successfully losing weight in the short term through a strict diet or restrictive eating. But for the vast majority of people, what will happen after a period of time is the body fights back, the body doesn't want this, and then the weight comes back on. And people talk about a sense of feeling incredibly hungry, they are out of control, they can't stop eating. They're really upset about this as well. Probably it's not a nice thing to be going through because you feel like you've achieved something and now you feel like a failure again. And this can go on years and years and years, and that's yo-yo dieting, I would say. So what's it triggered by? It's triggered by wanting to lose weight in the first place and going on a strict diet that can't be maintained for life.
So just the question. Oh, we've got some feedback. The question of yo-yo dieting. No, that stopped now. Yeah. It sounds like a cycle, a terrible cycle. You're going up, you're going down, and it's a real battle by sounds of it. And the triggers aren't very good, and I guess we get disappointed and upset that we're gaining back the weight. And you said something there that I think is key, and that is that it's a strict diet, and
Yes.
that is part of the problem because it is a strict diet.
Yes.
So,
Because it can't be maintained. You might have heard women talk about I'm on a diet or I'm off a diet. And when they're on a diet, they feel in control. They might feel quite proud of that for a while. It might be familiar territory. They're used to being on a diet, no problem. But then there's a sense of being good. And that can only continue for a while. So perhaps you've got a woman who's dieted to lose weight to go on a holiday. And then she goes on holiday and she wants to reward herself for being good. Sorry, I can't stop doing that. It's really annoying, I know, but I don't know how else to describe that mentality around it. So
I know what you
basically,
mean.
and she goes on holiday and she thinks she deserves a treat. She's done really well to lose the weight, and so she comes off the diet and indulges in some shape or form. And I'm trying to say this objectively without any criticism or judgment whatsoever. It's really, really familiar territory to so many people. But then what happens is that you get back that taste again. They might think initially, oh, I'm just going to have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then I'll get back on the diet again after the holiday or whatever. But the thing is, that's really, really hard to do. Weight maintenance, I think, once you've reached your weight that you want to be, can be incredibly difficult. I think for some women that is harder than losing the weight in the first place, at least until you get into the menopause. And when you get to the menopause, that might change a little bit because it becomes much, much harder to lose the weight in the first place for many women.
Why is it harder to lose weight when you get into that stage? Why?
Okay, so several things can be going on at once. So a woman might be sleeping really badly. That affects our energy levels. We're less inclined to move around, exercise, number one. Number two, the menopause can increase our feeling of being anxious and stressed. And let's face it, the menopause for many women is the busiest times of their lives. They're really juggling. They might have older parents, younger kids, businesses, also. So stress and anxiety in many women are reported to be higher than pre-menopause. That means more cortisol in the body, the stress hormone, and that hormone over a period of time can tell our body to store fat. Okay, so less sleep, more cortisol. Next, the big one really is to do with estrogen. So when our ovaries go into semi-retirement and then retirement, basically the body still is looking for estrogen. We need estrogen all over the body, particularly the brain. It's really underestimated how much our whole body needs estrogen. But if you think about the brain fogs and the low mood that people talk about, that's the brain is suffering from lack of estrogen. Anyway, so when we can't get our estrogen from the ovaries anymore, quite often the body needs to find it from another source, and that source can be, for many women, around the middle. And this is why so many women talk about losing their waist and putting on weight specifically around the middle. And that is your brain actually being really, really clever, believe it or not, and telling your fat cells to store more fat there, because that is a source of estrogen.
It's amazing how the body helps us survive, doesn't it? So it's a survival type mechanism that's going on.
Yes,
You
it
know,
is.
it recognizes that you're losing weight maybe too quickly or something, and the body kicks in and says, "Oh no, stop this."
Yes, it does that as well. Yes,
Mm,
absolutely.
yes. So
Yeah.
it's a hard fight. Now, I'm going to read off a list of dangers of yo-yo dieting.
Okay.
Um, and you know, maybe we can address some of these as well too. So it increases weight gain, higher body fat, muscle loss, fatty liver, increased risk of diabetes, increased risk of heart disease, increased blood pressure, frustration, out of control, disappointment, which you sort of mentioned and covered, and it can be worse than the weight itself. You know, going up and down can cause, I guess, more problems than
Mm,
staying at a certain weight.
yes.
But of course, if we can drop the weight completely and stay off of it, keep the weight down, then we do get the health improvements, don't we? So,
Up to a
are
point.
there anything there that you wanted to talk about or address in particular? The
Yes.
dangers of?
The dangers of. So, I mean, I suppose if you think about what you're doing with your yo-yo dieting over many years, this, or maybe within a year, you might go up and down a bit. But this is something, think about it as a long-term effect. You're messing up all the body's natural rhythms, aren't you? So if you think about like your metabolism, what happens when you lose weight, your metabolism decreases, your body needs less calories to work, basically, because you are smaller, and because the body might have put itself into survival mode, starvation mode, and it might be trying to preserve as many core functions of the body as possible, and letting other bits go just to keep you going. Again, the brain is being very, very clever here. So
Yes.
if that's happening, your metabolism is slowed. But then when you put on weight, which the body wants you to do, it's astonishing to think actually the body never actually really wants you to lose weight. That's why it's so hard. It holds on to the weight no matter what your age you are, but just particularly around the menopause. Anyway, when you put on weight, your metabolism will go up. When you lose weight, your metabolism will come down. So that's messing up one of the body's core functions, and it's more complicated than that on a daily level. But let's just keep it simple for now. What else did you mention there? You mentioned insulin resistance. So that's a big one. Diabetes and
Yes.
insulin. Yeah. So of course, so when we're putting on weight, it's likely that will be coming, for most people, that will be coming from eating more sugars, and more sugar as a form of carbohydrate, possibly more fats as well. But it's the sugars and carbohydrates that are the relevant point to insulin resistance and diabetes, because the more of those, so let's say you've been on a diet and now unfortunately you're in a situation where you are rebound eating
Mm-hmm.
because your body has not been happy with what you've done. So you might be overeating, you might be eating too many sweet things. That is going to mess up your insulin levels quite a lot. Your insulin is going to be very high going around the body. You're going to need more and more insulin to be released to bring your blood sugars back to the normal level. Now, over a period of time, again, that's not good. You're going to need so your insulin resistance is going up. That means your risk of diabetes, type 2 diabetes, will also be going up, and you might need to go on medication for that.
Yes. So very, very dangerous to really be yo-yo dieting. And you said something interesting too, that losing weight, your metabolism comes down.
It
So
does.
I guess to counteract that, we need to do some form of exercise to sort of, would that help?
There's a balance there, yes. I mean, generally, a smaller person just every day will need less calories to survive than a larger person, and your body will be burning them up at a slower rate as well. So, but you're right in that exercise does increase your metabolism, So there is a balancing act there, and I suppose it's about finding out what's right for you. And just to come back to something you said just now about all the weight coming off, I mean, yes, up to a point. We do know that there is a certain gosh, I don't really like the BMI scales at all, but there is a certain level around the BMI that is deemed to be healthier. Again, it's more complicated than that. Everybody is different, but I just want to say that being underweight is actually quite dangerous as well, and not healthy. So we all have this ideal of what being slim and healthy might look like, but actually for your body, if you've been in a bigger body for most of your life and you want to lose weight, you might perhaps not aspiring to be as small as some people think they want to be might be the best thing. Or if you get to that really little place, it might not be as healthy as you think. So we have to kind of reframe sometimes what we think the ideal should be, again, especially as we get older.
You mentioned something there that I thought was interesting, regarding losing weight. Do our DNA, from the time we were born or we're in the womb and that sort of thing, is it already not prescribed? What's the word? Is it already designated what sort of size you'll be, and and the struggle you might have?
Yes. Again, up to a point. So there's lots of different studies on this, and the research indicates that between 40 and 70% of our body shape is genetic.
Yes. Well, so there's not a whole lot we can do, but there's still things that we can do. So we talked about what yo-yo dieting is and the dangers of it. So what is better? What can we do?
Okay, so if we want to lose weight, then we want to lose weight forever. That's the key thing, isn't it? Keeping it off, sustainable weight loss. If that's what we want, then we have to make changes that we can sustain forever. There's no point doing something in the short term. So this is a bit of a shock that you can't go on a diet and then come off the diet and everything's okay. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. So what we need to do is think about how to make changes in our lifestyle that we can maintain, that we are happy with, that don't feel that can become habits quite easily, and we can keep them going really forever. And this might really be quite a lifestyle change for people. It might involve all sorts of different aspects of your life that you hadn't thought of, like your socializing, for example, that kind of thing. I'm not saying don't socialize. I'm just saying that it's about far more than just what food is on our plate. And if we want to make this change for life, then it's got to be in a way that is peaceful, actually, not causing us angst or distress, and something we can maintain.
Okay, well, can we drill down to specifics on what we can do to change our lifestyle? What sort of lifestyle changes can we make?
Okay.
Or what lifestyle changes to avoid? Can we drill down and be specific?
Okay. All right. Well, I'll start with what we can do, I think. But I would like just to say, first of all, this is going to be slightly different for everybody listening. But let's just have a think about. I think the first thing to realize is that it isn't just about food on our plate, but also some of the things we've already talked about that radiate out into our lifestyle. So we might need to have a look at our sleep. We might need to prioritize our sleep. We might need to take a look at the way we manage stress to bring down those cortisol levels. We might need to have a really good look at our activity levels and movement. And I consciously don't use the word exercise here, because I know for many women that exercise is not something they enjoy or want to do. But I think we do need to say that on some level, moving around every day in some way is quite important. We've all become so sedentary, especially over the lockdowns. Many of us working from home. In some ways, a lot of people are quite happy about that. or maybe hybrid working. But when we're at home, we probably don't move around as much as when we used to go out and about and work in offices more. So stress, sleep, and movement are all really, really important. So I think they need to be taken into account here rather than simply just focusing on the food on our plate.
Sure.
I think the next thing is as well is that we seem to have evolved to a position now where taking time around our food doesn't really happen for many people now. So there is some statistic about, in the Second World War, they used to spend an extra hour and a half a day cooking compared to now, something like that. I forget the exact numbers, but it's quite extraordinary how short our cooking and eating window is now. So we want instant food. We're not prepared to give it the priority that real food needs sometimes. So we might need to make some allowances there to spend a bit more time preparing our food. That doesn't mean cooking elaborate meals, but just thinking about what you're having to eat later that day, trying to bring in some great ingredients, and then also to take the time to eat the food well without rushing it down, eating too quickly, eating in front of screens. So again, giving that more priority. I have a little saying called POP, which I think is POP is is helpful. And so one of my key tips for sustainable weight loss is around POP being planning, organization, and preparation. And if you can bring those into your life around food, I think that is helpful.
Sounds some good tips there. I want to just get back to the thing about movement. What I've done recently is swap my chair. Not today because I'm on broadcast, but I swapped my chair for one of those exercise balls.
Oh,
And
wow. Fantastic.
that makes me move all the time, and you know what I mean? Because before I would sit all the time.
Yes. Yes.
Being on Zoom and whatnot.
Yes.
But getting one of those exercise balls to sit on, it makes you move, and it's strengthening your core as well.
Yes.
So that's certainly one tip I would share with
Absolutely.
anybody listening today.
Yeah,
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I know you mentioned about POP and preparation planning and so on. What if you don't have time, you're working lots and everything like that, and preparation sort of just goes out the window, and just people might just order something in, or whatever. Is there any suggestions around what you can do about that?
Yeah. I mean, we're all time challenged now, aren't we? So there are things that can be done. Some of the boxes the recipe boxes and kits you can have delivered to your home. So basically it's all there in a box and you just need to chuck it in a frying pan or something like that. Some of them, I would look carefully at them, but some of them can be really helpful shortcuts. They have improved a lot, I think, in what you can get to your home. And I would say that that's a halfway house, perhaps, between preparing your own food from scratch or having it delivered. So that's useful. There are also quite a lot of shortcuts that we can take as well. I mean, I was talking with a client yesterday about putting together some really easy lunches that she can take out of the house with her. And whilst cooking from scratch is the ideal, we do realize we can't do that all the time. So you can get some great, a tin of beans or lentils, fantastic, cheap, instant, ready, filling, mixed with a packet of, there's packets of like grains you can get, mixed grains or rices and things like that. Bung some of those in a pot, chuck in a bit of salad, would take you about 3 minutes, and then you can take that out to lunch with you. So as I say, these are kind of shortcuts, but sometimes we do need to do things like that. The other thing I would say would be really helpful, and again, this goes back to the planning, is that in the week we might be really, really time poor, but at the weekend, perhaps we've got a bit of time to maybe cook a really big batch of something, get some portions in the freezer, and then pull them out in the week when you're short of time. And the thing with that is that it will be encouraging you to use real food, whole foods, foods, you know, naturally around us on the planet, because that surely has to be another key point here, really, is that if we can move away from all these ultra highly processed foods that have got God knows what in them, really, and
Yeah.
get back to real simple foods
Yes.
that are ingredients, not necessarily foods that have ingredients, or not, certainly not lots of ingredients.
Oh, that's
That's
a
what they
good
were
point.
intended to eat, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a really good point. Food that are ingredients as opposed to food that include ingredients or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Is that what you said? Yeah.
yeah.
That's
As
a
best we
really,
can,
really good point.
as best we can, without it causing a lot of stress, because that won't help.
Oh, no. And that's the thing too, is to not be all stressed about it. If you've eaten something wrong today, just, sort of try and do a little bit better the next day. And
Yeah,
like you said, it's a lifestyle change. So
yeah,
some people, I mean, they avoid certain foods and then they crave it later on and then they binge on that, or. But what are some of the things that would be dangerous to sort of be indulging in? Just if we could cover that
yes,
aspect.
yeah. I mean, it probably is no surprise, but linking it back to the menopause as well, for ladies that are about to or going through that. So things like alcohol will not only increase perhaps some of your menopause symptoms like hot flushes, but they are incredibly um, unhelpful to weight loss. Drinking your calories is something that generally I don't talk about calories, but I do think people don't recognize how many calories, how unhelpful alcohol can be. And not only is it a lot of calories going in, but it usually inclines someone to eat more food afterwards as well. So alcohol would probably be my number one to stay away from.
Mhm.
Um, and then, of course, the white processed carbohydrates, the simple carbohydrates. So all the white breads and foods and cakes and all those kind of stuff. They are, we're not demonizing them. We're not saying don't ever have them, but
Limit
in
them.
moderation. And they are the types of foods that, if you ever notice, they don't need chewing. A lot of them, they don't need to be chewed. A cake, a biscuit, I suppose, biscuit dunked in tea, or some fluffy white bread. It's all that kind of stuff that, or burger rolls, things like that. All the stuff that goes down really, really quickly. So what that means is we can take in again an awful lot of food, an awful lot of calories without even realizing. Compared to eating something that requires a lot of chewing, like an apple, perhaps, where you really feel it and you have to take your time and that kind of thing. So I would say, yeah, the white carbohydrates, and of course sugar is included in those too. Those would be the main ones.
What about potatoes? I mean, you for, against, yes, no?
I feel quite sorry for potatoes. I think they get quite a bad rap, really. I think it's
Okay.
if you've got a beautiful jacket potato, keep the skin on because it's lots of fibre. To eat it with some protein and a little bit of healthier source of fat, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But if you cut up the potato, take the skin off, cover it in the wrong type of oil, and then have it with, I don't know, mayonnaise and tomato sauce along with I don't know, something not helpful on the side. That's where it kind of goes wrong. But the actual potato, it's a natural
Yes.
ingredient, isn't it?
And,
Sweet
and
potatoes.
maybe sweet potatoes better, yeah. And maybe not have as much potato as well. If you could, have a small potato with other ingredients that are more healthier for you, big
Yeah,
salad, whatever
yeah,
else, and pulses and
yeah,
beans.
yeah,
That
yeah,
that would be an okay meal, and that's satisfying as well,
yeah,
too.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Making vegetables. Think about the potato on the side, not the potato being the bulk of the meal.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So those are some really good points. Um, I'm just going to read down a little list of things that we can avoid. And you mentioned some of these. So eating healthier foods, avoiding junk food, limit starchy foods, get some exercise and working out, getting good sleep, limit TV time, and just sitting and eating and watching TV and just gulping down food. Not good. So thank you so much, Kathy. That was
Well,
brilliant. You did
thank
very
you.
well in terms of sharing what points that we need to know and cover in this regarding yo-yo dieting. So that was very helpful. Thank you very much
Well, thank you
again.
for having me here.
You're more than welcome. So that was Kathy Hogton from Blossom Health Coaching, helping us with yo-yo dieting and why it's not a good thing and sometimes worse than having the weight on. So I would encourage you to watch this episode. I think it's very helpful, and there's a lot of information there to help us with our diets and just better health generally. So thank you for joining me today with Strictly Healthy. And again, we'll be back soon with another great episode that will help us in terms of becoming well and functional as best we can be. Thanks very much, and speak soon.